Everybody should get some toilet paper and get started. You don't have to listen to everybody. You don't get.
When I think of postmodern, I think we could use anything for art. We could grab this random piece of junk from the side and throw it into a sculpture, throw it on, somehow glue it or tape it to a painting. We can use anything and make it part of our art.
We can borrow anything. We can use anything. We're going to use anything and everything to make a sculpture. Many people have said it. I don't know if it's only going to be attributed to Marshall McLuhan, but as somebody interested in education, he said everything is information. What does that mean?
Everything we look at is something that we have to take in. So no matter what we're doing, we're constantly retaining information, retaining knowledge.
So yeah, everything is information. Everything has a message. Everything has meaning, right? The students, I wanted to engage them in the fact that everything is information, and that's why that was our leaping off point. They're going to have a lot of choices to make, and they're going to be overwhelmed, and that's very appropriate since it is postmodernism. A couple of the other concerns in terms of everything is information is that you may elect, and I hope you do, to take carefully considered objects and place them in your sculpture. Because if you can do that, you're going to add meaning. There is a format where I like to go back to the previous day. Sometimes it's so informal that they don't even realize I'm doing that. It seems conversational, but it jogs their memory about what we were doing the day before. Who's not familiar with the fountain? Not familiar. You all know it? Then you're going to know how the title changes the meaning. How does it change the meaning? Definitely, I like to give them the majority of the time to do hands-on creation that relates to a larger goal. But here's the catch. If they don't know what the larger goal is because we haven't covered all aspects of it, I'd be irresponsible just to release them into the project. And that's where you run the risk of not being very popular. But it's for their own benefit. When you sculpt with the material you sculpt with also brings a message. It's not always their most preferred in terms of showing examples and discussing things to not the nth degree, but discussing them until I'm convinced that they're fully aware of what the goals are and what their choices are. But I think they appreciate it after the fact, because I've seen the opposite happen where the students aren't sure of what they're supposed to be doing, what the goals are, where they're supposed to be going with an assignment, and they lose confidence in their teacher, I think. We never assume that all knowledge of the past is erased, right? So
I guess we can just say it is a battery.
Like they know the function of the battery.
Postmodern sculpture, it's going to take several days because the concept is fairly layered, and we certainly just don't leave it here now. As a matter of fact, we've already spent a day or two just here and there, little snippets talking about how society's different. And today what they were doing is they were sort of applying that theory a little bit towards a sculpture without knowing much about postmodernism. You can use anything in your area as long as you put it back afterwards and you don't saw it in half in the process, okay? You can do anything. You can reconfigure the tables any way you like.
What we did today is kind of like practice for the actual sculpture that we're going to be doing later. So we've just kind of gone through it, and now we'll have an idea of what not to do. And
It does help me with figuring out ideas, because it allows me to look at what we did and get an idea of what not to do. Want to make the sculpture more interactive and have it that there's space that people could go in. With ours, there wasn't anything like that.
I spent most of the day, it's sort of diagnostic, watching to see if they're frustrated, checking their eyes to see if they get it, and if they don't get it, to talk to them one-on-one. So the group work gives me an opportunity to do that. At the same time, it gives them an opportunity to try to see what their strengths might be, what their possibilities are, and to gather ideas from other people without even knowing it. In terms of dynamic space, which ones have done the best jobs? So our next step would be for them to take a look at postmodern artworks, analyze the work, and explain how it fits the postmodern model. How is it interactive? How does it borrow from the past? Is there an ironic message? And so on. I don't want them to do that too soon in the unit, because if I do that, they may feel that it's very formulaic and they just may follow that to a T. Like whatever example I show them, I end up with 20 of those. Instead, if I tell them they have all these choices and I want you to incorporate all these choices and that everything is information, what I'll find is I'll get a more diverse set of results that they'll make it their own and they'll enjoy doing it more. So in terms of creativity, it can be frightening for some because they do have many, many choices to make now. In terms of the creative process, today was just I used the term leaping off point. It really is. There's a leap of faith that they have to take, and I have wonderful students, and they're willing to do that. Now what I'll do is I'll take them through a series of exercises that I had them put it into what I call their thinking folder. It's a creative process folder, and it has everything including initial design ideas, rough drawings. They can put in there, I'll ask them to research, and it's a mandatory part of this folder that they research inspirations. What I like about the media art courses and the way they're set up in the curriculum guidelines is that they do focus on new and emerging technologies. And I think it's important to be current for the sake of the students. I mean, they are current. And if we don't keep up with what they're doing and what they're interested in, then we're gonna lose their interest. Using digital cameras to capture their own photographs and videography, and we have a video editing program, and they love it because everybody has something to say, and a moving image allows them to say it in so many more ways.